You're playing with power.
Happy birthday, Metroid! And to celebrate one of my personal favorite franchises from Nintendo, I'm going to play some Metroid II, which I got as a birthday present back in 1992, as I recall. The Nintendo Game Boy was the first, and actually it was the only Nintendo console that we had in my house growing up. I wanted an NES because everybody I knew, friends, acquaintances, random kids at school had an NES, but I didn't. I had an Atari, and I had plenty of fun with an Atari, obviously, and so I was a bit of an Atari fanboy, but I was also just a fan of video games in general and enjoyed playing plenty of stuff. Fortunately, because everybody I knew had an NES, I was able to enjoy plenty of NES games at the time. But like I said, we did have a Game Boy, and when I got Metroid 2 for my birthday, I played the crap out of it. In fact, I even wrote a letter to GamePro because at the time I couldn't find the Varia suit in this game, and this was 92, the internet didn't exist like it does now with walkthrough guides. I mean, perhaps there was a BBS or something out there that told you how to do it, or maybe Nintendo Power, but I didn't have a subscription to Nintendo Power, and on a BBS I would have had like a Texas Instruments or an Atari. Actually, I think at the time I didn't have an Atari 800. I built a 286, or I bought a 286, I can't remember which came first. I know I remember building a 486, but I can't remember on the 286 exactly, but didn't have a modem or anything, so I didn't really know what a BBS was. Anyways, but funny enough, they answered my question months later, and I actually figured it out maybe about a week or two after I sent the letter in. But that was nice. That was the first time I ever was published. But anyways, I really enjoyed Metroid 2. I enjoy the Metroid series, as I mentioned. It's one of my favorite Nintendo franchises. The other one that I'd really be into would be The Legend of Zelda. But when it comes to Metroid, I've played all except for maybe one. Like I've not played the Metroid pinball game that was on the DS, but all the other ones, from the NES Metroid to Fusion, all the Metroid Primes, Super Metroid, this of course, even played the AMR2 remake, I think it was called. But because I played this game when I was like 10, 11 years old, it really stuck with me. And just the atmosphere of this game, that's where it really nails it. As the music's fantastic, and the sound design's fantastic, level design, I mean everything about this, it's hard to find a lot to criticize about it. And when it comes to Nintendo versus Atari, this is one of those types of games that I really wish that some Atari console had. Now, I know on the Atari 8-bits there's Draconis, I think it's called. And I've played that before, but it's just not got the same level of polish as Metroid does. I mean, I'm sure it could have gotten there, perhaps, but I mean, especially like the hero music that plays when you're in the main caverns, or I should say, when you get to the end of this particular game, just that sound design of when you're leading up to the Mother Metroid, or I can't remember exactly what it was. It's like a giant skeleton dinosaur Metroid. Just the tension that it builds is masterful. And so it's like, gosh, I wish the Atari Lynx would have had this. And I will say, I really wish I had an Atari Lynx when I was this age. I remember seeing ads for the Lynx in comic books and just lusting after it. It's like, wow, a color screen, that's awesome. But, it was too much money and the Game Boy was cheap, and of course the Game Boy had all these games, so I did eventually get a Lynx, but it was like 1997 by the time that I was able to contribute, and that was of course way too late to help anybody at Atari. But just on this playthrough here is a tribute to 38 years of Metroid. I'll play through a bit to kill a few Metroids, grab a few items including the spider ball. I'm not going to comment for the whole thing, but the oddest thing that I came across on this, because I'm obviously playing this on the Nintendo Switch through Nintendo Switch Online, as you saw earlier, the odd thing is that on the spider ball, for some reason the controls don't always respond, and so as you'll see, there's sometimes where I'm there and I'm not moving as the spider ball, but I'm like pushing the controls in every direction that I can figure, and it just doesn't move, and I don't remember it ever doing that on the Game Boy, so I don't know what it is. I was using a Nintendo Switch Official Pro controller, and tried both the D-pad and the analog stick, and it just wasn't as responsive as it should be, so I don't know if that's an emulation issue or something along those lines, but still, enjoyable game, and yeah, wasn't using any guides. I was playing this from memory. I mean, I'm sure I missed a missile upgrade or two, but it's if anybody wants to see more Metroid 2, I'll be happy to play through it. Another thing that I like about the game design on this is how the progression works from area to area. As you saw earlier, once you killed the first Metroid, which as I recall those are Alpha Metroids, it would have an earthquake, and that would remove acid from a section of the game to give you access to the next one, and once you finish exploring the other one, then and you kill all the Metroids, then there's another earthquake and it gives you more access, and it just keeps doing that until you get rid of all 39 Metroids. But again, very awesome game, one of my favorites. Let me know what you think about the Metroid series. Which one's your favorite? Would you like to see something like this, or a remake show up on something like the Lynx? I'd love to see what the Lynx could do with some of the capabilities it has. But thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.